One of the most important parts of Pennsylvania's ecosystem is the population of bats.
This one here, which is the little brown bat, and that is one of the most common species in the state, and that is also one that's declining very rapidly now. These are the bats that were up at Shavers Creek in the colony up there. We also have the big brown bat, which you can see looks very much like the little brown bat, but it's called the big brown bat because it's bigger, and they're very similar, but they're different in sizes. This is one of the other very common species in the state. And when people get bats in their house that they live in the attic, they wind up living in the attic, it's usually one of these two. So these are both cave-dwelling species that hibernate in the winter. Then we have other species like this one here, which is the hoary bat. This is the largest species in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And then the red bat, which is here, which is another closely related bat. And these are migratory species. Yeah.
There's really no reason to be afraid of bats. Despite popular myths, only 3 in 1,300 species of bats actually drink blood. The rest eat harmful insects and fruit. Only about 3% of bats carry rabies as well. The most common signs you should look for if you're worried about rabies in bats is the inability or difficulty flying, or if they're resting in strange places, such as sitting on the ground or your floor.
They are good pollinators, they eat harmful insects, and they disperse seeds.
A lot of people don't understand the importance of bats, and they don't know what they do for us. Our farmers really get a big benefit from bats.
A really big benefit in the form of free pest control. Bats are the only nighttime insect eaters we have, feasting on crop-eating moths and beetles and massive amounts of mosquitoes. A single bat can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes in an hour. 1 million bats could consume nearly 700 million tons of mosquitoes in 1 year. According to a study done through the U.S. Geologic Survey, that free pest control saves farmers about $74 per acre. Agriculture is Pennsylvania's #1 industry. And bats pest control saves the state $300 million each year. Nationally, it adds up to a staggering $23 billion savings.
Unfortunately, bats face many threats to their species. Bats face diseases like white nose disease.
This is probably the most devastating wildlife disease to ever hit North America.
Because the fungus first grows around the bat's nose, scientists called it white nose syndrome. Now, more than 6 million bats are dead.
Bats are incredibly resilient and are highly adapted to their environment and to changing conditions, and they've evolved to be able to handle anything. And here comes this disease that just is completely wiping them out, and it's blown all of us away.
Pennsylvania has emerged as a major player in the national fight against white nose syndrome, even as our own bats continue to die. Some experts fear it may be too late to help them.
A lot of people don't understand bats very well, might have a fear of bats, and really don't understand why should I care that all of the bats in my backyard are gone.
In agriculture and forestry, and even in terms of human health, bats perform a crucial service, pest control, worth billions of dollars. But white nose syndrome is threatening to push entire bat species to the brink of extinction.
Bats are amazing creatures. They're dying in unprecedented numbers. This is a huge wildlife disaster. I think Pennsylvania will have very few bats left.
According to the Pennsylvania Game Commission, the greatest threat to bats comes from humans in the form of highway mortalities, wind farms, introduced diseases such as white nose syndrome, and disturbances while hibernating. Highway mortality can occur when bats are crossing or foraging near highways in forest habitats, particularly where forested streams cross under roads. We discovered a research paper from the British Ecological Society. The authors write, total bat activity and the number of species and activity of Pipistrellus pipistrellus, which was the most abundant species, were all positively correlated with distance from the road. These effects were found to be consistent over 2 years. For our solution, we decided to use an ultrasonic emitter mounted on top of a wind turbine beside roads to keep the bats away from this dangerous area. For this project, we had 4 main goals. The solution had to be a reasonable size so it didn't stand out alongside roads. The sound emitter needs to be able to stay on overnight. The solution can't be too complex so that ideally others can recreate it, and it needs to be all-weather.
We were inspired by videos of helical turbines seen on the sides of highways in many countries. These turbines would be used to generate clean electricity from wind generated by cars.
So this is our final prototype of the Bat Defender. Up top we have our turbine, and then it runs down into this enclosed box where we have our electronics that convert the power into AC, and then it runs to our ultrasonic speaker that we use to repel the bats.
First item is the turbine, which costed $230.11, but it came pre-assembled, so it was worth the money. The speaker itself was $55. We bought 2x6 lumber that we used to make the post and electrical tape to connect everything together, and miscellaneous hardware, so screws, staples, and other items we used to put it all together. We put a total of $10, and that put us at a total cost of $334.21. We partnered with Pennsylvania Bat Rescue, a nonprofit that helps rehabilitate bats that have been harmed. We chose PA Bat Rescue because we thought that they would have a lot of valuable knowledge on bats that could assist us in prototyping, and we sent them questions to choose how we wanted to deter the bats safely.
For our improvements, we would want to switch this out for a helical turbine, so vertical blades. That way it just runs from any direction, easier to put alongside a road. We would replace the wood with a metal pole, so it's more stable and it's easier to put in the ground. And we would definitely have the speaker encased, put it inside with the other electronics to keep it away from the rain and other weather.
The Bat Defender wouldn't be a permanent solution, given that many bats are migratory, and by having many devices in different areas, this would confuse bats and interfere with their migratory paths. Despite this, when being used in small numbers around dangerous areas for bats, the Bat Defender would be greatly beneficial. A more permanent solution is needed. However, the Bat Defender is a great short-term solution to lessen the pressure put on the bat population.